Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpha Sharma, and in today's session we shall be talking about our strategy for the next 30 days that will make sure that we get into our dream NLU Delhi. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible to everyone. If you could very quickly confirm that you can hear and see me very clearly. Good afternoon, everyone who's watching me live. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible to everybody. Hi everyone. So that's the commencement of our series Last Lap to AILET 2022. And through this series, we shall be aiming how and what should be our methodology, some tricks, some tips that we need to ensure that we do before the D-Day happens, because we have only 1 month left. And through this, we shall be aiming at getting into our dream NLU. Hi Bhadra, hi Achal, am I clearly visible and audible? Hi Ria. I hope yes. Okay. So the idea is that let's first have a look at a few things. So the agenda of the class is that first we discuss NLU Delhi, comparison with other NLUs. Where does it stand? If I get into NLU Delhi, should I prefer it or not? What is the new exam structure? Because I'm sure you know the exam pattern has changed from 2022, where English and reasoning and maths and everything has had an overhaul. And what has changed, what has not, what remains the change? The legal logical reasoning section, which remains a tiebreaker. We have to look at the previous year exam trends, and then we'll decide about the cutoffs, and then we'll discuss what are the things we need to do while we prepare for NLU Delhi. So that's the agenda of the class. We'll discuss all these things in detail. Now, let's start off with the idea why NLU Delhi. Now see, this is the only NLU that doesn't take admission through CLAT. Apart from that, every other NLU takes admission through CLAT, and they are aligned by the consortium and their decisions. So NLU Delhi takes a separate examination that's named as AILET. And AILET 22 is going to be held on 26th June. Now, if you look at the ranking of NLU Delhi, it's amongst the top 5 for sure. Yeah, we can rate it amongst the top 5. Certainly, amongst the top 5 NLUs of the country. Also, the advantage that it has is that it's in the heart of the city of the country, and it's in the capital of the country, the only NLU that's there in the capital of the country. So, इसका रैंकिंग बहुत अच्छा रैंकिंग है, बहुत टॉप 5 कॉलेजेस में आता है, एंड आपको ये एग्जामिनेशन जरूर देना चाहिए अगर एनएलयूज में जाना आपका टारगेट है तो। किस एनएलयू के इक्वलेंट अगर आप इसको रेट करना चाहते हैं, अगर आप ये मुझसे पूछते हैं, आई थिंक एनएलयू प्रोबेबली कोलकाता और जोधपुर would be somewhere close to NLU Delhi if you look at their ranking, probably Kolkata and Jodhpur. So it's in the capital of our country, and we certainly should appear for this examination. Now that you filled out of the form और एग्जामिनेशन दे रहे हो, कुछ प्रीवियस पेपर का एनालिसिस करते हैं, ट्रेंड देखते हैं क्या ट्रेंड था, और ये जो नया पैटर्न आया ना, जो चेंज हुआ है, वो एनालाइज दैट चेंज एज वेल, और चेंज के अकॉर्डिंग हम थोड़ा समझने की कोशिश करेंगे कि क्या चीजें हैं एडिशनल जो एक लास्ट महीने में आप कर सकते हो, जिसके थ्रू आपके मार्क्स इंप्रूव हो सकते हैं. बट बिफोर दैट, इफ यू टारगेटिंग क्लैट 2023 और कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव कॉम्बो कोर्स हैज बीन लॉन्च्ड, जल्दी से एनरोल कर लो इस बैच के लिए अगर दिसंबर क्लैट आपका टारगेट है तो. Yes, Pratik. So you'll have to give me a second because I have got all the cutoffs as well. क्योंकि आपको पता है कि जो 110 सीटें थी और उसमें से कुछ जनरल के लिए, तो I'll tell you the cutoffs for general and SCs and STs and all of that. I've got that slide as well. तो उसके पहले ना, सबसे पहले तो चेंज इन द स्ट्रक्चर डिस्कस करते हैं. सी, पहले एक स्टैंडर्ड पेपर होता था जो जब से एनएलयू दिल्ली का कमेंसमेंट हुआ, AILET एग्जामिनेशन का कमेंसमेंट हुआ, दे हैड बीन फॉलोइंग द सिमिलर स्ट्रक्चर. फिर इनके मार्क्स का थोड़ा सा ऊपर नीचे हुआ, बट देन अल्टीमेटली द लास्ट पैटर्न दैट वी हैव व्हिच इज गोइंग टू बी फॉलोड इन 2022, दैट वाज वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट अनाउंसमेंट्स मेड बाय एनएलयू दिल्ली, वाज दैट इंग्लिश वुड बी ऑफ 50 मार्क्स एंड देयर इज गोइंग टू बी नो मैथ्स. मैथ्स एनीवे बहुत मार्क्स की नहीं आती थी, 10 मार्क्स की आती थी. But then they say no mathematics. So a lot of people believed. So there are multiple, opinions that you'll find people having, and people saying multiple things. I'll talk about mathematics later on. बट सबसे पहले ये देखो, लीगल रीजनिंग हट गया, and then we have only logical reasoning for 70 marks and English for 50 marks, and then we have current affairs for 30 marks. So ये announcement आया NLU Delhi के साइड से कि this is going to be the pattern, new pattern है जो हम follow करने वाले हैं, ठीक है. अब इस new pattern में maths obviously eliminate हो गई थी and legal reasoning was combined into the logical reasoning section. So do you see the difference here? This logical reasoning section could have LR, could have CR, could have legal reasoning, and it could also have probably mathematics as well. ये सब हो सकता है. Exactly, it is not removed. That's the whole point. So legal reasoning is actually mixed up all into one. That means logical reasoning could ask you everything. Exactly, it may have everything. Okay? So, my idea is that while we are, legal reasoning will be given in the logical reasoning section. Yes, it will be. And it clearly specifies that it will not be legal GK. It will be on principle-based questions. That's what the examination say. But then, let's have a deep analysis of that. Okay, so we might have mathematics, we might have LR, we might have CR, we might have legal. Let's look at some previous year paper. Let's look at some trends and see कितना weightage कौन से section को दिया जा सकता है and उस weightage के according क्या prepare करना है आपको. What is that you could do in the last 1 month which you might have actually missed out on? Let's have a look at that. So, cutoff negative for this one. Every incorrect answer. Now see. Quant may appear or may not appear. We cannot be sure about that. 1 to 2 questions of quant may appear. But do you see? No, Rahi, you cannot. Okay. So, the idea is that critical reasoning, analytical reasoning, legal reasoning, all are going to be combined along with a few questions of quant appearing. But then if you look at the pattern of AILET, you've seen AILET going closer and closer to CLAT over the years, the latest pattern of CLAT. Did you notice this, everyone? Did you pay attention to that? That AILET has started moving closer and closer to what CLAT today is. Mostly reading based and CR based, and legal reasoning also is reading based. Yes, it is. And that's exactly why the number of quant questions are reducing year by year, and the chances of quant appearing this year is almost negligible. But you'll have tons of legal reasoning where there will be principle and there will be explanation to it and there will be a case that you'll have to solve. You'll have lots of critical reasoning where we assume critical reasoning and the number of questions pertaining to critical reasoning, the paragraph based ones, would be more than the analytical reasoning questions. That's what we believe in. So the reading has increased here, yes. और रीडिंग अब क्योंकि इंक्रीज हो गया है, क्या कर सकते हैं क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग में, क्या कर सकते हैं एनालिटिकल में, लीगल में क्या करना है, क्या रिवीजन करना है, लास्ट 1 मंथ में डिस्कस करते हैं. पहले एक बार थोड़ा प्रीवियस ईयर का पैटर्न देखते हैं. लेट्स हैव अ लुक एट द पैटर्न. लेट्स सी कि क्या कोई ऐसी चीज है जो हम मिस आउट कर रहे हैं. बिकॉज आप जो भी परसीव करते हो एक ईयर के बारे में, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू परसीव एनीथिंग अबाउट 2022, एवरीथिंग इज डिपेंडेंट अपॉन द लास्ट 2-3 years papers, the cut off, the kind of questions that have appeared and the notification they have come out with, because they don't have a sample paper yet for 2022. So the idea is that everything that we construe about the latest pattern and the kind of questions, it has to be stemming out of the previous year papers. So we will have to look at the previous year papers as well. But remember one thing, tiebreaker. फ्लैट में क्या होता है tiebreaker? कौन बताएगा मुझे? Yes, Krish. Analytical reasoning questions would be there, but not as many as critical reasoning would be. We'll have a look at the 2021 papers analysis. But मुझे ये बताओ कि CLAT का tiebreaker क्या है? Let me see if you know that. Because AILET ka tiebreaker is the logical reasoning section, because legal reasoning is no more a separate section. It's going to be a part of the logical reasoning section only. The marks in legal, yes, Prateek. But then here, since legal has been combined. अच्छा एक बात बताओ प्रतीक, तुम्हारे मेरे दोनों की इक्वल आगे लीगल में, तो टाई ब्रेकर क्या होगा? पूर्विका, if both of us score equal in legal, then what's going to be my tiebreaker? What's the second tiebreaker? Quant? No, 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 no. Gauranj, quant is one section that holds the least weightage. It can never be a tiebreaker, my child. Let me see if you remember that. Current affairs, okay? And some people say age. 12th ke marks bhi. Okay. Current affairs, okay. No idea, I don't know that. No, Sagnik, that's not true. No, that's not true. No, Movis, not reservation. बच्चे, understand, you fight only with the people of your own category. तो अगर आप भी जनरल और मैं भी जनरल हूं, तो हम दोनों के लिए अगर 10 सीटें हैं तो हम दोनों उसी 10 सीटों के लिए लड़ेंगे और टाई ब्रेकर उसी पे होगा. रिजर्वेशन वाले को कोई अलग से टाई ब्रेकर नहीं दिया जाता. नो, नॉट करेक्ट अटेम्प्ट्स. It's the age. It's the age. Whereas if you talk about the AILET, the tiebreaker is going to be logical reasoning, since legal reasoning is no more a separate section. So the notification clearly says that logical reasoning is going to be the tiebreaker. The one who scores more in logical reasoning will be given preference. Now this, remember, my children, this logical reasoning could also have mathematics. This logical reasoning will also have critical reasoning, analytical reasoning, and legal reasoning. So these 70 marks will be your tiebreaker. And since so many people, roughly 15,000 plus kids sit for those 110 seats of AILET, you look at the ratio, tiebreaker becomes a very important aspect here. क्योंकि अगर इतने सारे बच्चे इन सीट्स के लिए, और ये ओवरऑल सीट्स है, जनरल के लिए नहीं है, सो अगर इन सीट्स के लिए इतने सारे बच्चे बैठ रहे हैं तो बहुत सारे बच्चे होंगे जो सेम स्कोर पे होंगे. एंड टाई ब्रेकर बिकम्स अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट ऑफ you receiving a call from NLU Delhi or not. तो उसके लिए क्या क्या चेंज हुआ? Only the structure has changed and the types of questions remain similar. So if you had seen English appearing with one reading comprehension and a lot of grammar and a lot of vocab, it would remain the same. Possibly because वो 30 marks से 50 marks का English हो गया. Instead of 1 RC, it could be 2 RCs, but we'll have grammar, we'll have vocabulary. That's what our perception is about NLU Delhi. The types of questions remain the same. The number of questions pertaining to each section and the entire structure has changed. So that's one thing we need to remember about the latest. Yes, Violet? You don't know that? Exactly, Pratik. It may be the same because they've just combined the sections. So इस बार कट ऑफ कैसे जाएगी? चलो देखते हैं इस बार कट ऑफ कैसे जाएगी. देखते हैं. So ये तो ओल्डर पैटर्न था जो 2008 से 2021 तक फॉलो हो रहा था. We had 35, 35, 35 and then mathematics for 10 marks. But then they combined this and probably these sections, and they gave it a 70 marks और 70 के साथ साथ English language 50 marks का हो गया. So this was the new pattern that had emerged. Now let's have a look at the cutoff. Okay, a lot of you had been asking me about cutoffs, and cutoff में general के लिए 2021 last year का देखते हैं, 100 was a cutoff. Although ये pattern, if अगर आप AILET के commencing से बात करते हैं तो roughly 100 से 105 तक cutoff जाती थी, barring a few years जब difficulty level was higher, where 70 to 75 went the cutoff. But if you have to analyze where do you stand and looking at the scores of your mock, if you're able to score 100 plus in the NLU Delhi AILET pattern mocks, you can consider yourself at a safer position. So don't be complacent if you're scoring a 70, 75 plus in the mocks. Okay? आपका टारगेट होना चाहिए एक 100 to 105 प्लस इन द मॉक्स आउट ऑफ 150 if your target is NLU Delhi. Forget about 2020, 19, 18 का कट ऑफ जो 70, 72, 75, 71 गया था. So I hope it's clear कि आपका मॉक्स का क्या टारगेट होना चाहिए. How many of you are falling into that category? I'd like to know that. मूवीज वो भी बताऊंगी. So मुझे ये बताओ, हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू फॉल इनटू द कैटेगरी ऑफ 100 and 105 प्लस? कितने लोग हैं अभी भी जो स्कोर कर रहे हैं इतना? स्कोर्स बताइए अपने मॉक्स के मुझे, एवरीवन. How many of you fall into this category? What are your scores? Sharvali, that's very good. प्रतीक कितना स्कोर आ रहा है? Very good Somnath, very good Bhumika. Okay. 70s and 80s में स्टक हो? शिखर, फिगर आउट करते हैं. ठीक है, अभी भी एक मंथ है हमारे पास. लेट्स फिगर इट आउट. लेट्स फिगर इट आउट कैसे इंप्रूव करते हैं, देखते हैं. ओके, सो ये तो रफली कट ऑफ था, बट माय आइडिया इज दैट अगर आप हमारे मॉक्स में एक 100 टू 100 प्लस रफली टू 105 प्लस आप स्कोर करते हो, यू आर एट अ डिसेंट पोजीशन. जनरल कैटेगरी का क्या कट ऑफ था? 100, जो हमने एनालाइज कर लिया ऑलरेडी, और ये वेरिएबल था टुवर्ड्स द लास्ट फ्यू इयर्स. नाउ द नंबर ऑफ पीपल हु टुक द टेस्ट. सो मैंने एक रफ आइडिया आपको बताया था, 15K पीपल सिट फॉर इट, बिकॉज 2019 में 18K पीपल सैट, 20 में ड्रॉप हुआ, ऑफ कोर्स you know the reason, and then it picked up again to 13. My idea is that again this year roughly 15,000 people will certainly sit for the paper again. कोई बात नहीं भूमिका, we can certainly improve. Somna, that was good. That was good. But we certainly can improve. That's the entire agenda of the session. That's the entire target of the session. तो 15,000 बच्चे देंगे पेपर और आपको 100 प्लस लेके आना है, उसमें से कट ऑफ चाहिए. टोटल नंबर ऑफ सीट्स 110 है, जिसमें कि आपके अनरिजर्व्ड 47 and economically weaker section 10, OBCs 23, SCs 16, STs 8. So we have a total of 110 seats. The number of seats remain this unchanged. PWD reservation 6% horizontal है, Kashmiri migrant 1, residents of JNK 2. But हम अभी सिर्फ इस नंबर को टारगेट करेंगे, क्योंकि जो मैं आपको इंफॉर्मेशन दूंगी वो बाकी कैटेगरीज के लिए थोड़ा वन नॉच लोअर हो जाता है इन टर्म्स ऑफ कट ऑफ्स, बिकॉज हाईएस्ट कट ऑफ ऑब्वियसली अनरिजर्व्ड कैटेगरी की जाती है. सो जो भी मैं एड्रेस करूंगी वो अनरिजर्व्ड को कीपिंग दैट इन माइंड विल डू इट. ओके, सो रिजर्वेशन दिल्ली रेसिडेंट्स को मिलेगा, ये किसने बोला आपको? Hamad Ansari, you're mistaken. Delhi residents have no reservation in NLU Delhi. NLU Delhi is the only NLU that doesn't give you reservation on the basis of domicile certificates. Every other NLU would give you domicile reservation. NLU Delhi would not. Okay. So, Harshita, you are at a very good position. We can certainly improve it by 10 marks. That's the idea of this session. That's what we are aiming at. तो ये क्वेश्चंस क्लियर हो गया. 110 सीटों में से 47 आपकी जनरल के लिए थी, और इन 47 सीट्स के लिए कुछ रफली 10,000 बच्चे फाइट कर रहे थे. बट उसको कैसे क्लियर करेंगे, उसके पहले फिर टारगेटिंग क्लास 2022 बैच 3 ऑफ द क्रैश कोर्स हैज बीन लॉन्च्ड. जल्दी जल्दी से एनरोल कर लो, अभी भी टाइम है क्लैट के लिए, राइट? अब देखो, लास्ट ईयर पेपर एनालिसिस करते हैं कुछ. लेट्स सी अकॉर्डिंग टू द एनालिसिस व्हाट आर द टॉपिक्स वी फोकस ऑन मोर इन द लास्ट 1 month. What are the expected kind of questions that we would see in the examination, and what was the weightage given to each topic in the past year? According to that, we will look at the current pattern. So last 2-3 साल के पेपर एक बार एनालाइज करके देखते हैं क्या क्या इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स है जो करना जरूरी है. ठीक है. So वर्ल्ड ऑफ वंडर्स NLU जोधपुर के बारे में I'll update you. NLU जोधपुर में अभी तक नहीं हो रही थी, but there was a newspaper article that came up that NLU जोधपुर has passed it. अभी तक उनके ब्रोशर में वो प्रिंटेड नहीं आया, but NLU जोधपुर has passed it. So probably by this year NLU जोधपुर will start giving reservation to Rajasthani kids. मैम सारे एनएलयू के लिए फॉर्म फिलिंग डेट एंड हो गई है क्या और मेरे पास अभी भी टाइम है क्या? राही, आई वांट माय वीडियो टीम टू आंसर दैट, वो बिकॉज इफ आई गेट इनटू दिस तो हम सारे एग्जाम्स के बारे में बात करने लग जाएंगे विच इज नॉट द एजेंडा ऑफ द क्लास. तो देखते हैं सारे एग्जाम्स एक बार एनालाइज करके देखते हैं. सबसे पहले लेट्स लुक एट द इंग्लिश सेक्शन. ठीक है, सो पास्ट ईयर we had here we had one reading comprehension, 5 passages. Shashi Tharoor's book 2021 का extract था. Grammar 7 questions. One word substitution, that is vocabulary, 5 questions. Whereas 2020 also had one reading comprehension, 19 also had one reading comprehension, and in 2018 we had 22 questions of grammar coming up. Now see, ये सब तब था जब 35 marks का English होता था. If I increase it to 50 marks, obviously this might become 2 RCs instead of 1, and the number of grammar and vocabulary questions will certainly shoot up, undoubtedly. तो इससे Harshita, I will since you've put up this question, I'll rate NLU Jodhpur above GLC Mumbai. Okay, so ma'am, please same session for CLAT 22. Okay, everyone who's watching me live, we have a series of sessions planned for last lap to AILET, 1 month preparation, and last lap to CLAT. And for that, I would expect you to be to have subscribed to the channel already, like the video and share it, okay, if you haven't done that already, so you don't miss out on the important sessions that are planned throughout the month. So idea क्या है, क्योंकि 70 questions and odd one out के 5 questions, they do as directed, fill in the blanks, correct meaning, and all of these would be vocab. Tons and tons of questions on vocab. Number of questions on vocab would increase. Can I say we need to work harder on vocabulary now? Can I say that? Yeah? Yes, of course. So vocabulary के लिए, since I'm assuming you've been preparing for quite some time, एक बात याद रखना, the number of vocab questions will obviously increase. The number of grammar questions will obviously increase. Reading comprehension, since you'll also be sitting for CLAT, I'm assuming you've been preparing well for that. But if you've not been preparing for these 2 sections, please start doing that right now. At least you can master this in the next coming month with the revision of focusing on this. That's what the last few years analysis tells us. See, so figure of speech रफली नहीं अपीयर हो रहा है लास्ट 2 years में, बट अगर आपने अभी तक फिगर ऑफ स्पीच नहीं किया है तो ये भी कर लेना, बिकॉज क्लैट में फिगर ऑफ स्पीच लास्ट दोनों सालों से आ रहा है, एंड 6 क्वेश्चंस 2018 और 19 में आए थे विच कैन कम बैक अगेन, सो यू कैन राइट डाउन अ नोट अबाउट फिगर ऑफ स्पीच. इफ यू हैवंट डन दैट, please do that right away. Figure of speech is supremely important, even if it did not appear in the last 2 years paper. So remember, grammar and vocabulary based questions appeared a lot. So करना क्या जरूरी है आपको? Let me write down a few topics. If you haven't touched upon those topics in grammar, please solve them. The topics are subject verb agreement, tenses, pronouns, prepositions, these, and that's all. You could also do nouns. If you haven't done these topics yet, do them and solve a lot of previous rather error spotting questions. So error spotting questions are miscellaneous questions that doesn't tell you if the question has an error of pronouns or subject verb agreement or tenses. So do a lot of error spotting questions that are available on our app. Download that and please start solving those questions. Error spotting, that's one thing. That's about grammar, error spotting questions, and these individual topics. Let's talk about vocabulary based questions. Vocabulary based questions can come up in the form of spellings. It can come up in the form of identify the correct spelling. Spellings बहुत frequently आए हैं AILET में, वापस आ सकते हैं. Odd word out आ सकता है in the form of logical reasoning question. It can be synonym, antonym, fill in the blanks. Please solve direct and indirect questions like close test, Fill in the blanks. Instead of directly solving synonyms and antonyms from the app that we have, there are multiple questions along with solving all the previous year papers. If you have already solved word power made easy, I would expect you to give this a quick revision, because if you've already solved that, you could quickly revise these. You can also find a list of high frequency words. What are high frequency words? So high frequency words are basically punctuations. No, my child Nitin, punctuations aren't very important. Usually you don't see questions on punctuations. They're very, very rare. And will NLU Delhi release a sample paper? We expected it to do it, Ritvik, but it still hasn't. The day the paper comes out, we'll be the first people to analyze it. Pratik, that's a good deal. 10 standard level of these will do, Sharvari. Okay. देखो बच्चे, आयुषी, adjectives is something, मैं आपको बताती हूँ. देखो ग्रामर कौन से पर्सपेक्टिव से इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. ग्रामर इज इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम द पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ questions that might come up in the examination. And I might write down the entire list of all the parts of speech: nouns, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, modifiers, conjunctions, prepositions, interjections, सब लिख सकती हूँ मैं. But जिस section में ज्यादा question आ सकते हैं, those are the topics that I've written. Of course, करना है तो सब कुछ करना चाहिए, but prioritize किसको करना चाहिए is what I'm writing down. Okay? 10th level grammar basic fundamentals would do, but आपको एक चीज समझनी पड़ेगी बच्चे. देखिए, this is a competitive examination. It's not a CBSE examination that you know the definition of a noun or a pronoun and you'll get through. You will be asked questions depending upon the exceptional usage. The same goes with mathematics and logical reasoning. And legal reasoning as well. So basic fundamentals of mathematics like ratios and proportion would help you. But then you need to be practicing those kind of questions that we might be confused with, and I need to be able to do it very, very fast, because it's a competitive examination with a time-bound procedure. Okay? Of course, Satya Pratap Singh, I could see your messages. Okay, so that's the idea. Vocabulary, please download a list from our app on high frequency words. Start revising these words. Not every single word from the dictionary is important. The high frequency words are. If you've been a regular reader of the newspaper, if you've been making notes of vocabulary, start revising that. So your notes are supremely important now. Formulas, words, figure of speech, notes of grammar, rules of logical reasoning and critical reasoning. सबका revision का time आ गया है. तो याद रखना, रीडिंग कॉम्प्रीहेंशन, क्योंकि आप ऑलरेडी क्लैट के लिए प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हो, करते रहो उसको लगातार. वोकैबुलरी रिविजन करो, ग्रामर बेसिक रूल्स रिवाइज करो, सॉल्व ग्रामेटिकल क्वेश्चंस एंड एनालाइज ईच मिस्टेक. ब्लाइंडली सॉल्विंग विल नॉट हेल्प यू. एक क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर लिया, गलत हो गया, कोई बात नहीं, आगे चलो ना. दैट्स द रॉन्ग वे टू डू इट. यू गेट अ क्वेश्चन रॉन्ग, यू एनालाइज द क्वेश्चन अगेन. व्हाट वाज द रूल दैट्स एप्लीकेबल हियर? व्हाट रूल डिड आई फॉरगेट? सब्जेक्ट वर्ब अग्रीमेंट था, अकॉर्डिंग टू मी प्लूरल वर्ब आना चाहिए था, बट सिंगुलर आया. व्हाई? I need to know that. You need to answer why. Okay? 2000 vocab from the Hindu. I think वही आपका high frequency words का list है बच्चे, वही revise करना आपको. Then where can I practice more and more questions to make grammar stronger? Our app. Okay? So work on your vocabulary, revise it, solve RCs from various genres, analyzing your performance. सॉल्व करो, देखो क्या मिस्टेक हो रही है, कोई एक स्पेसिफिक टॉपिक है क्या जहां आप गलत कर रहे हो, कोई स्पेसिफिक पैटर्न ऑफ क्वेश्चन है क्या जो आप गलत कर रहे हो. आर यू एबल टू एनालाइज द इन्फरेंस और द कंक्लूजन और द मेन आइडिया ऑफ द क्वेश्चन of the passage? Identify the kind of questions you're getting wrong. So these are the things I expect you to do in terms of English. Let's analyze logical reasoning, क्योंकि अब ये 70 मार्क्स का एक सेक्शन हो गया. देखते हैं इसमें क्या क्या आ सकता है, क्या क्या करना है इसके अंदर. ये सबसे ट्रिकी है एक्चुअली. Okay, so ma'am, I hadn't completed my logical reasoning syllabus. From where I do? Priya, if you're enrolled in our batches, you can watch the recorded videos again. But if you aren't enrolled in the batches, right now we'll discuss what can you do to finish off the syllabus for logical reasoning. Okay, and ma'am, can you help us in timing? We should be Yes, Anshita, I'll address that by the end of the session. That is a very important thing which I'll address. I'll not miss out on that. तो आगे देखते हैं लॉजिकल रीजनिंग में क्या करना है. You, I'm sure, must have seen the previous year papers, and you know that the number of critical reasons. I am the happiest. You guys know why am I the happiest? Because मेरे subjects का weightage बढ़ रहा है. In terms of English, 50 marks का हो गया. In terms of critical reasoning is given more and more importance lately into AILET over analytical and logical reasoning. And then we'll have legal reasoning, which also needs reading. So my subjects are becoming more and more important in terms of this examination. And CLAT तो पता ही आपको पूरा reading based है. तो अल्फा मैम के सब्जेक्ट्स की इंपॉर्टेंस थोड़ी सी बढ़ रही है. आई एम एक्चुअली हैप्पी हियर. अंकुर सर सेशन देख के थोड़ा एंग्री हो जाएंगे, बट कोई बात नहीं. क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग क्वेश्चंस, वर्बल एबिलिटी क्वेश्चंस, they have increased considerably in the last few years. सिर्फ आप अगर लास्ट ईयर का पेपर देखोगे, 23 questions were from critical reasoning and verbal logic, whereas analytical were only and only 12. That means we have to be good with critical reasoning here. So, what should someone do who is done with sectional tests? Practice more grammar from? I'll tell you that by the end, okay? How to work on vocab? Skopach, are you targeting 2022's AILET? If that's what you're asking, please work on your high frequency words and solve many questions. So, back to it. Critical reasoning number questions have increased, and since अब 70 marks का था और increase होंगे, बिल्कुल increase होंगे. They're going to be paragraph based and majorly strengthening and weakening the argument. How many of you struggle with strengthening and weakening the argument questions? ये बताओ मुझे. How many of you still struggling with strengthening and weakening the argument questions? Still struggling? You're welcome, Skopach. प्रिया, बच्चे देखो मैं आपको ऑनेस्टली बताऊं, कुछ भी सिलेबस नहीं है. सिलोजिज्म कर लेना, बड़ा आसान टॉपिक है. एक दो क्वेश्चन भी आ गए तो शॉर्ट आंसर मिल जाएगा. छोड़ के मत जाना. So Rahi, Sarika, Pratik, Moviz, Ritvik, Hamad, many people. लास्ट लैब टू AILET की क्लासेस, लास्ट लैब टू CLAT की क्लासेस बहुत ध्यान से अटेंड करना. ओके, we'll be focusing on these kind of questions too. Okay, but अगर अभी भी ये गलत होते हैं, एक सजेशन दूंगी, प्लीज अपना बेसिक फंडामेंटल एक बार रिवाइज करो. फंडामेंटल अबाउट हाउ, सबसे पहली चीज एक ये समझ लो वापस से, गिव इट वन डे, हाउ टू फाइंड द आर्ग्यूमेंट. Because if you are able to find this, 90% of your job is done. Only and only 10% depends upon close options. So most of the people are stuck when they are unable to find this. और critical reasoning के basic concepts की argument क्या है, assumption क्या है और conclusion क्या है और कैसे strengthen करते और weaken करते हैं, प्लीज इनको बहुत ध्यान से एक बार अटेंड कर लेना. हमने बहुत सारी क्लासेस ली है, केडी सर ने बहुत सारी क्लासेस ली है. एक बार उनको फिर से देख लो अगर आपने मिस करी है अभी तक तो. ओके, ऑलराइट. सो प्लीज अपना बेसिक फंडामेंटल्स रिवाइज करो. स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड वीक आर्ग्यूमेंट्स कैसे स्ट्रॉन्ग होते हैं, कैसे वीक होते हैं. स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड वीक आर्ग्यूमेंट्स क्लैट में नहीं आते हैं. They are only either passage based or strengthening or weakening. But strong and weak, they come a lot in AILET. और ये थोड़ा कंफ्यूजिंग टॉपिक हो जाता है कि आप कैसे किसी आर्ग्यूमेंट को स्ट्रॉन्ग या वीक आइडेंटिफाई करते हो. सो प्लीज फाइंड आवर वीडियोस दैट वी हैव ऑलरेडी मेड ऑन स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड वीक आर्ग्यूमेंट्स, assumptions, conclusions, इसकी बेसिक फंडामेंटल्स. What are you supposed to do? Solve many critical reasoning questions. And also remember, solve them time bound. Time bound करना बहुत जरूरी है. Because AILET is majorly about your speed. Not only about your accuracy, but about your speed as well. because उस टाइमिंग में आपको 150 क्वेश्चंस करने हैं. That's a tricky task. Solve the basic fundamentals of verbal logic. We're talking about logical reasoning, but we still are talking about critical reasoning because it will have the maximum weightage. तो अपने बेसिक फंडामेंटल्स एक बार रिवाइज कर लो. लॉजिकल रीजनिंग में क्या करना है, कुछ टॉपिक्स बता रही हूँ, उन सारे टॉपिक्स को फिर से एक बार सॉल्व कर लेना. ब्लड रिलेशन, कोडिंग डिकोडिंग, डिस्टेंस एंड डायरेक्शन, सिटिंग अरेंजमेंट, ऑड वन आउट. सिटिंग अरेंजमेंट दिया नहीं है, आई विल जस्ट राइट दैट डाउन. एंड पजल बेस्ड सिटिंग अरेंजमेंट का एग्जांपल हो गया. ये क्वेश्चंस इस टाइप के प्रैक्टिस कर लेना. दे शुड बी अवेलेबल इन आवर सेक्शनल टेस्ट्स ऑन आवर ऐप. अदरवाइज वट एवर यू सॉल्विंग इट फ्रॉम वहां से. मैम कंसेप्ट तो क्लियर है, अगर वो पैराग्राफ समझा दे तो हो जाता है. दैट मीन्स आप आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं ढूंढ पा रहे हो बच्चे. पैराग्राफ नहीं समझ में आ रहा मतलब आप आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं ढूंढ पा रहे हो. आर्ग्यूमेंट ढूंढना, दैट्स व्हाई आई सेड आर्ग्यूमेंट जिसने ढूंढ लिया उसके लिए 90% विक्ट्री हो चुकी है. Anshita from our app. Clocks and calendars as well. Yeah, we could write that down. But then again, remember, Somnath, that's from the perspective of what is more important than others. I'm unable to solve maximum questions in AILET in 90 minutes. Okay. How much time to give to this section? I'll take you back to that slide. एक बार time bifurcation करके देखेंगे 90 minutes में. End में करके देखेंगे, ठीक है? I'll take you back to the slide after we look at what are the things we need to do. अब क्योंकि लीगल रीजनिंग उसी 70 मार्क्स का एक पार्ट हो गया है, तो लीगल रीजनिंग में क्या करना है. लीगल रीजनिंग, इफ यू लुक एट द प्रीवियस ईयर ट्रेंड्स, lesser and lesser of legal GK was asked. More and more of passage based questions were asked. So you need to focus one on your speed, just like CLAT. Because if more paragraph based questions are asked, you need to be okay with reading these paragraphs, principles, arguments, and you need to be able to solve them fast. एक चीज याद रखना, ये जो प्रिंसिपल्स होते हैं ना, दे आर अ लॉट बेस्ड ऑन लीगल मैक्सिम्स. एंड इफ यू ऑलरेडी नो द मीनिंग ऑफ द लीगल मैक्सिम, अंडरस्टैंडिंग द एंटायर प्रिंसिपल बिकम्स अ केक वॉक फॉर अस. तो लीगल मैक्सिम्स एक बार रिवाइज कर लेना अगर अभी तक नहीं किया है तो. डिज्योर, एक्स ग्राशिया, व्हाटएवर दीज आर, इनको एक बार ढंग से पढ़ लेना. I mean, CR, what is more important? Strengthening and weakening the arguments? Manav, Bache, I've already addressed English. Please watch the remaining part of the video after this class ends. I've already addressed English in detail. Okay? 55 minutes to logical. 25 minutes for English and GK. 25 मिनट में English और GK पूरी सॉल्व कर लोगे. 50 नंबर की इंग्लिश. प्रतीक, थोड़ा अनरीजनेबल नहीं हो गया? सोच के देखो, 2 रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन आ जाएगी तो कर लोगे क्या, जीके और इंग्लिश दोनों? थिंक अबाउट इट. 55 मिनट्स तुमने लॉजिकल रीजनिंग को दे दिया. सो पहले लीगल जीके वाज अ लॉट, बट ग्रेजुअली डिक्रीज होते होते 2021 में इट्स बेयर मिनिमम, एंड दे क्लियरली से that we'll give you minimum amount of questions from legal GK, more and more from principle based questions. And no, it's not possible in 25 minutes. No. So 2021 का एनालिसिस देखो. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में देखो, लीगल जीके वी हैड barely 2 questions. Everything else was from paragraph based questions. So paragraph based questions क्योंकि इतने ज्यादा आए थे, we clearly see legal current events, current affairs कम से कम आएगा. Maximum will be fact based, principle fact based questions. And basic concept of law आपका पूछते हैं, उसको आपको सिर्फ मास्टर करना है. The basic fundamental is to get your speed correct. Your speed needs to be very very accurate. आप देखो, ओके, सो द आइडिया इज, देखो जब आप प्रैक्टिस करते हो, ये स्पीड डेवलप कैसे करेंगे? While you're practicing, since you have 1 more month to go, whatever you're practicing, whatever, make sure it is time bound. if because this last 1 month is more about revision. आपको हमेशा लगेगा ये जीके ना थोड़ा और कर लेते हैं, करंट अफेयर जितना भी कर लो उतना कम लगता है. 100% of you will agree with me on this part. जितना कर लो उतना कम लगता है. लेकिन पता है करना क्या आपको ये अपने आप को बताना है कि डूड मैंने जो मेहनत करी है ना अभी तक, that's going to be enough. I need to trust myself and I need to revise whatever I've done in the last 1 year. Because if you don't revise, you are going to forget things, and that's the worst of all, knowing an answer and unable to recall that at the time of the examination. तो अब कंसेप्ट और जीके कर लेते हैं और कुछ नया कंसेप्ट कर लेते हैं, उसको कम करके और अपनी स्पीड बिल्डिंग एंड अपनी रिविजन पे ज्यादा फोकस करना है. एंड हाउ डू यू बिल्ड योर स्पीड? बाय सॉल्विंग मोर एंड मोर क्वेश्चंस टाइम बाउंड. ये बहुत जरूरी है आपके लिए. ओके, एब्सोल्युटली दैट डज. But then, Somnath, tell me something. If I give you 3 hours, 4 hours for solving flat paper, your accuracy is going to be high. Your speed is going to be low. So there's a mixture that it goes hand in hand. Okay? Of course, the better you get with practice, the better your speed also becomes. There are not many new pattern mocks for AILET. Should we focus more on sectional tests? You have to focus more on a mixture. I hope you've solved all the previous year papers. I hope you've solved all the existing mocks. Please wait for some more new mocks to come up. We'll bring up some more. So that's about legal reasoning. जीके देखते हैं क्या करना है, क्या रिवाइज करना है, एक बार देख लेते हैं. Last 6 months आपको पता है सबसे ज्यादा important है. 30 marks were based on current affairs. और इसके अंदर सबसे पहले टॉपिक्स देख लेते हैं क्या क्या करना जरूरी है. नेशनल इंटरनेशनल इंपॉर्टेंस के सारे इवेंट्स कहाँ से करने हैं? क्लैट इग्नाइट, सालिक सर की क्लासेस, अभिमन्यु सर की क्लासेस, सब रिवाइज कर लो, है ना. इंपॉर्टेंट पर्सनालिटीज, अभी मत बोलना इंपॉर्टेंट पर्सनालिटी में मुझे सिर्फ रशिया का और यूक्रेन के प्रेसिडेंट्स के नाम याद करने, बहुत कुछ और करना है. यू हैव टू डू अचीवमेंट्स इन स्पोर्ट्स. लास्ट 6 months में हमारे पास ओलंपिक्स था, सबसे बड़ा इवेंट. प्लीज मेमोराइज द डेटा अबाउट द स्पोर्ट्स. Multiple victories, multiple tennis tournaments, multiple hockey tournaments, and then hockey में भी हमने बहुत अच्छा perform किया था. So there are a lot of questions that might come up from sports, science, technology, defense के बारे में भी बहुत कुछ आ सकता है because of the death of our CDS and then the new coming up and everything. Literature पे questions, history, political science, economics and geography. Environmental science pe we have COP26 and we have the gas glow and the next meet happening in Egypt and everything. COP27 सब पे आपको ध्यान देना है, बहुत सारी चीजें. So कहां से करोगे इसको, कहां से करना जरूरी है इसको? इग्नाइट कर लो, ठीक है. मंथ्स स्पेसिफिकली 1 महीने में रिवाइज कर लो, दिसंबर से जून का. I'm sure इसके पहले का भी आपने जीके किया होगा, but you need to focus more from December to June. Specifically, the last few months are very, very important. Do newspapers if you haven't done them yet. You could do any one of these newspapers, any one of that. You could do GK from our Clatic Night magazines. Download them if you haven't downloaded them yet. The class notes that we have provided you with and all our YouTube videos. सालिक सर के numerous videos है, अभिमन्यु सर के numerous videos है GK करंट अफेयर्स में. प्लीज सबका देख लो. अब देखो क्वांट के बारे में करना चाहिए या छोड़ दे क्वांट? कौन बताएगा? Should we still be doing quant or should we leave this? हाँ, क्योंकि क्वांट एनी में नहीं आने वाला, छोड़ते क्वांट. बताइए, करना है? ऑफ कोर्स करना है, ऑफ कोर्स. yes, because this is such an examination with the ratio of selection being so small, so many kids sitting for the examination, few seats, even a fraction of mark will either make it or break it from your side. They can certainly ask mathematics in the logical reasoning section. And since they can ask it again, agar aa gaya, you will be in a situation of regretting. and that shouldn't happen. तो टॉपिक्स कौन कौन से जरूर कर लेना. Do average, ratios, profit and loss, percentage, permutation and mixtures and allegations. Simple है सारे टॉपिक्स, basic fundamentals. You might get 2, 3, 4 questions. 4 क्वेश्चन भी आ गए ना तो चारों करेक्ट हो जाएंगे. They don't take up a lot of time. That's the bounty about such questions. So देखो, रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन का एक क्वेश्चन भी 1 मार्क का होगा, लीगल रीजनिंग का एक क्वेश्चन भी 1 मार्क का होगा, ग्रामर का भी एक क्वेश्चन 1 ही मार्क का है, वोकैब का भी 1 ही मार्क का है और मैथ्स का भी 1 ही मार्क का है. Prioritize questions because a lot of you have been struggling with this speed. Prioritize questions that can be done in lesser amount of time with more accuracy. And that's why doing quant and practicing quant becomes important. You can score full marks in quants, all correct. So a surprising fact, general category cutoff 2020 में 75.25 थी. 5 बच्चे थे इस पे, मतलब 0.25 marks ऊपर and you are in, and only 2 were offered admission, or 0.25 marks नीचे and you're out. If you are at this position, actually quant can be your do or die thing. एक भी मार्क का क्वेश्चन छोड़ना नहीं है, ये याद रखना. राइट, क्वांट कर लेना, प्रैक्टिस कर लेना उन टॉपिक्स को, even a fraction of marks can count. Now, what all are you supposed to do? Do all the sample papers that are available on our app. Do all the mocks that we've provided you with, all the previous year paper from 18, 19, 20, even before when they were available. Last 6 months current affairs का revision कर लो, static GK थोड़ा सा revise कर लो. बहुत फ्रेट नहीं करना है क्योंकि static GK is endless, है ना, बहुत ज्यादा फ्रेट नहीं करना. बस मॉक टेस्ट रेगुलर देते जाओ, देते जाओ, देते जाओ. Prioritize easy questions, less time consuming questions that can be done in a jiffy. And remember, एक वाइज एडवाइस देती हूँ जो शायद आप लोग 1 महीने बाद आके मुझसे बोलोगे मैम थैंक यू फॉर दैट. व्हेन यू स्टक विद अ क्वेश्चन, देयर इज ऑलवेज एन अर्ज कि इतना टाइम दे दिया है डूड, इसको 5 मिनट्स और दे तो हो जाएगा ये क्वेश्चन. लीव द क्वेश्चन देन एंड देयर, बिकॉज इफ you are stuck with it and you were unable to do it, you probably are going to waste even more time doing that. It's going to be lucrative, बहुत luring होगा कि भाई 5 मिनट और दे तो ये हो जाएगा क्वेश्चन. And it's a trap. You're getting into the trap if you don't leave that question then and there. अगर एक रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन पढ़ के एक बार में नहीं आया तो उसको फिर से नहीं पढ़ना, उसको छोड़ देना. उसके 2-3 क्वेश्चन आंसर करके all 5 आंसर करने की लालच को छोड़ देना. Don't fall into the trap, otherwise you might get them wrong. Take as many mocks plus sectional tests as possible. Probably 4 per week of mocks. Very, very necessary. At least 4 per week. You could also solve many, many sectional tests. We have a previous year papers link that is sent by the video team. You could download them. Yes, Ansh. And remember this, don't be stuck with it. Mocks तो time bound तो सबके लिए अलग strategy work करती है. देखो आपके लिए क्या है, because speed is the key. तो जो भी तुम practice कर रहे हो ना घर में, even if it is not a mock, it has to be time bound. Even if it is one question that you're practicing. And if you are enrolled into one of our programs, because you get the tests online, don't do them only online. Because ultimately it's going to be a pen and paper based examination. So try filling out OMR sheets. किसी भी stationery shop में जाके OMR sheet लेके fill करने का try करना. Be very careful about them, because a lot of people mess up filling out the OMR sheet and thus get the answers wrong. एक और suggestion देती हूँ. A lot of people first saw the entire paper and then keep the last 10 minutes for filling out the OMR sheet. Don't be one of those people. You can probably solve 5 questions and then fill out the OMR. Then 5, then fill out the OMR. You could do it that way. But don't accumulate 20, 30, 40, 150 questions together and then sit down filling out the OMR. You will panic so much in the end, you'll be messing it up. ठीक है? So, Manav, it's AILET में 100 plus is good. So, these are the things I expect you to do. We also have last lab 2 CLAT coming up, which has 26 power packed sessions. एक बार schedule screenshot ले लो जल्दी से. 17th, 18th, 19th, 20 and 22nd. क्या schedule है? एक बार check कर लो. And then take a screenshot. Next schedule, next class में पता लगेगा आपको आने वाले classes का. And don't forget to join us on June 19 for our CLAT papers analysis live with the best faculties of the industry. Press the bell icon, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Telegram, download our app right now. Thank you so much, everyone. And how much time to be given to each section? You should be giving roughly 30 minutes to English, because if there's only one reading comprehension, you can easily do it in 20-25 minutes. If there are two, 30-35 minutes at max. And yes, Anshita, I'll take you back to the slide. Yes, give me a second. I'll take you back to the slide. I'll show you the slide again and let's bifurcate the marks, the timing. Give me a second. Let's bifurcate the timing. बहुत पीछे रह गया. ठीक है, 90 मिनट्स में देखते हैं. इंग्लिश कर लेते हैं हम 30 to 35 मिनट्स में. जीके 10 मिनट्स, 8 करने की कोशिश करना. थोड़ा प्रेशराइजिंग होगा बट हो सकता है 8 मिनट्स में. 30 क्वेश्चंस ही हैं सिर्फ. इजीली हो सकता है 8 मिनट्स में. लॉजिकल रीजनिंग को रिमेनिंग टाइम ऑल टू लॉजिकल रीजनिंग. दैट विल इंक्लूड ओएमआर फिलिंग एज वेल. अलग से 10 मिनट ओएमआर फिलिंग में नहीं जाता, इतने में ही करना आपको. ओके, ऑल राइट. सो मैम क्लैट के मॉक्स में 90 प्लस आ रहा है, लेकिन एलेट के मॉक में 50 से ज्यादा नहीं आ रहा. अभिजीत, because probably you did not practice the kind of questions that was different from CLAT to AILET. Please watch the entire session if you haven't watched it yet. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you had a fun time learning things. Make sure you work very, very hard. Make sure you make us proud. Comment under the video, like the video, share the video if you haven't done that yet. All the very, very best. I shall see you in the next furthermore classes on Last Lab to AILET and CLAT. Have a very good day, everyone. God bless all of you.